Welcome to Kingaku field. This is the first ever genetically modified cassava variety to reach this stage. The cassava we are calling Kingaku started as a proof of concept under the virus-resistant cassava for Africa. These varieties have very high resistance to cassava brown streak and cassava mosaic disease, and it's been a journey for over a decade for us to be able to reach the Kingaku stage where the materials are going to be released to the farmers. The VICA project has taken close to 10 years, where we started with as a proof of concept.
The journey started with the cassava in a small little tube, and that led to plantlets, and there was evaluation in the greenhouse. We got wonderful results. We then decided, now let's take them to the confined field trials, both here in Kenya and in Uganda. For certain number of generations, we've been able to take it to evaluate the cassava in the field, and finally finished with a regulatory trial, which was very, very successful, both here in Kandara, where you don't get the disease incidence, and in Serere in Uganda, where there's no incidence.
We started really working on coming to start with solving the problem, especially of CBSD, since about the year 2008. We had worked before that on trying to come up with a transgenic variety for cassava mosaic disease. But then the cassava brown streak disease emerged as even a bigger threat. So we decided to solve the CBSD using the modern technology and still now try to improve on the traditional method of the CMD using conventional breeding, which was there was already a solution. So since that time, about 2008, I have been working consistently together with this project, day by day, month by month, year by year. Coming through is moving from one step to the other. The first phase was, first of all, to say which science can help us solve the problem, because there was no source of resistance.
For the development of cassava brown streak disease resistance, cassava, under the flagship of Kingaku, we used the natural strategy that plants use for defense against the viruses, whereby we took a piece of the viruses that causes cassava brown streak disease and integrated it into the cassava, and then advancing the cassava into the breeding program, whereby we were able to restore or to have farmer preferred qualities like the high starch content, high yielding, and also testing it for adaptability in different agroecologies. And the reason why we are using modern biotechnology, which I say it mimics the natural antiviral defense, is because we looked through the cassava germplasm or the cassava genome throughout the world. And at that particular point, there are no cassava varieties that were resistant to cassava brown streak disease. So the only strategy that remained was to use biotechnology to be able to tackle the challenges of cassava brown streak disease.
Cassava is a crop which is planted or established using cuttings. And the GMO cassava that we have developed is actually resistant to cassava mosaic and cassava brown streak disease. When you look at the stick, it's like any other traditional cassava varieties that we have been growing with the same winter nose and all that kind of thing. But the only important thing is that this particular GMO cassava is totally resistant to cassava brown streak and the cassava mosaic disease, even when you plant it under very intensive area which has a lot of the diseases.
The project is now at a stage where all the experimental trials, all the testings have been done, have been ascertained, and we're just waiting for farmers to start getting the varieties. Once we get authorization from the Variety Release Committee of the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service and also the National Biosafety Authority. So it's a time when we are anticipating very strong support.
During this journey, I've had several high moments. The highest moment was when National Biosafety Authority actually gave us a stamp of approval to do environmental release. That means we have been compliant and done exactly what we are supposed to do according to the biosafety law.
In the 15 years that I've been involved in this project, my proudest moment was when we got a go-ahead from NEMA and the National Biosafety Authority to continue with the NPT, because the National Performance Trial is a culmination of all our efforts.
Taking the process through the regulatory system to the point that you can say that cassava is now ready, not only for the country, because the assessment, if it's for the whole world, because people are going to use the cassava, not only in Kenya, but wherever people would want to use the cassava. So that was another one of the biggest milestones that everybody who assessed our work said that this work has been done to international standards and it's actually ready. So NBA now coming to say that it's actually ready, that was, I think, the highlight. Maybe we didn't celebrate the way we should have because we are looking at the next opportunity, but it was a big, big highlight, the fact that we could be able to have the cassava being ready and accepted as safe and also ready for production. So the final one, which I cannot fail to say, is that especially for we are working with other partners in other countries. Some of them could not be able to continue because the challenges of the legal systems. But us now, when we are told to do the environmental impact assessment, of course, getting the license from the people who are the institutions which are responsible for giving the license for EIA, that is NEMA in Kenya. Getting that license was very critical for us because they also agreed with NEMA, with the NBA, that's actually safe. And that's why we were able to plant this one. Otherwise, we couldn't have been able to plant if we did not get the license from NEMA.
The major milestones we have had in communicating about Kingaku, one is engaging with the different stakeholders from the whole cassava value chain. Number two is getting the farmers to be involved in selecting the varieties, what we call participatory varietal selection. And we used a gender responsive approach where we now know that we have varieties where the youth are very interested in, the women and the men. The third one, and very, very importantly, was engaging with the stakeholders during times of very difficult challenges of personal communication during the pandemic, where we were able to engage with the different stakeholders through virtual platforms. And during that time, we realized there was much need for information everywhere in the country about Kingaku. And so we identified the challenges, we identified the concerns, we identified the interests, and we are also to give very good feedback to the regulators in terms of what the stakeholders were very concerned about the Kingaku variety.
We are at the tail end of the project, whereby now the next phase we are going into is now to go to National Varietal Release Committee for the Ministry of Agriculture to commercialize the varieties. And then from there, we can be able to officially release the varieties to the farmers. And also at the moment, what we are doing is to have a strategy for seed multiplication for the Kingaku varieties. So we've been able to do this work at Kaldro Mtwapa, and we have enough seed that we can be able, immediately the varieties are released by the National Varietal Release Committee, the farmers will easily have access to the cuttings. So the other strategy is to have a sustainable seed production, and we've been able to work with our other partners, whereby we've been able to establish cassava seed entrepreneurs throughout major cassava growing regions. And those are going to be the first entrance for seed. So they've been able to, they've been trained by KEFIS, they have been registered. And now what we are waiting for is that moment where the seed is going to be released officially. And then we engage our cassava seed entrepreneurs who are going to now engage in the business of sustainable cassava seed production.
When we look at this, I look at this stake, which is GMO, and we have developed it. I've been a part of the team which has developed this to be able to come to this level. A crop which is resistant to cassava mosaic and the cassava brown streak with very high yields. I feel so excited and happy, and I feel that I have been able to contribute to humanity in this world.
Looking at this cassava, it's a product of many years of hard work. This many years of hard work is now translating into a product that we're going to give the small-scale farmer. The small-scale farmer is going to have increased production because of this cassava. He's going to excel the excess that he makes and will have money in his pocket. This cassava makes me feel very, very proud that I've been able to contribute towards increasing the livelihoods of farmers in Kenya.
Looking at this as a cassava that is resistant to diseases, and many of the diseases that are in the region, I feel proud to be that I've been associated with it. Despite the struggles that we've gone through, the ups that you have had with it, at the end of the day, I can see we are coming to achieve what we are forecast to achieve. And I feel so proud of the team that has been working with this. Some started and they retired in the process. They left us to continue. And to see now we are coming to the end of the stage where we are giving it to the farmers, I think it makes me feel very proud. It makes me feel also my contribution to the society is big. And I think there is nothing more that you can look for but to see the product being with the farmers, and then our joy shall be complete.
As a scientist and having gone through the research phase, having seen this cassava, Kingaku cassava variety from the inception, for me it's such a joy to be able to show that we can be able to use technology or advanced biotechnology to be able to solve the issues that are affecting our farmers. And at the end of it all, we want to have a country that is food secure. And also, in the excess of cassava, we can also go into industrial production. So it's been a challenging journey. It's not been easy, but we've overcome most of the issues that were along the way. And it's a happy moment for me and for Calro to see that in the next few months, we are going to release the first ever genetically modified cassava in the world. So it's going to be released here in Kenya. So we are going to make history as the first research institution to release genetically modified cassava in the world.